Hello everyone, Troy here. Now, if you're within the Boruto community or fandom, whether that be on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever platform you watch, support, or hate on Boruto, you have probably noticed that there are a bunch of cancellation rumors going around. Whoever says it is getting canceled is either misinformed and or just outright lying to push the Boruto hate narrative and oh, Boruto is bad, right? Now, from what we have from actual people who have contact with insiders and main leakers who leak everything about the Boruto anime and manga respectively, such as Abdul. Abdul says, if the anime does go on hiatus, the reason would be simple. Improved scheduling. It's not a secret that the anime's production schedule has been awful in recent times, not giving animators and ADs enough time and freedom to finish the task and produce at a high quality. With that being said, as you saw and heard from Abdul himself, he's literally telling everyone that it is not being canceled, and at most it's going to be like a short hiatus. He even says another tweet, a couple months, a short hiatus at most is what's going to fix the scheduling and quality issues for Boruto. Maybe a year, right? So no, the cancellation theories and hate wave or whatever is completely made up, right? We know the Boruto anime has had a bad schedule, right? And Studio Period is already a relatively small studio, and clearing the schedule and work condition issues should only, like Abdul said, take a few months to maybe a year at most, right? So whenever you see on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube is being canceled, purely hate and just misinformation being spread, right? One anime director, I'm pretty sure, an animator that worked on Boruto, he was outsourced from Studio Period. He even said he had like 5 minutes or like 9 minutes to complete an entirely animated scene in one of the new Boruto Code Art episodes. If you don't know how animation works, that is a completely overworking and short amount of time, and it's nearly impossible to do that. You can't expect it to have top tier quality when the work conditions and scheduling are that bad. Now, to even further go against the theories and hate shit that it's gonna get canceled, let's look at the TV Tokyo and Boruto sales rate, right? In TV Tokyo, it's always either number 1 or 2. TV Tokyo is like one of the main streaming or TV programs that runs Boruto and is also in Japan. Boruto is literally one of its best money makers and viewership grabbers. It's always number 1 and 2. Literally is one of the most watched things on television. It makes a lot of money and a lot of viewerships. It's basically TV Tokyo's GOAT and moneymaker, right? This is weekly, by the way. It's doing all of this weekly, hitting number 1 and 2 weekly. Another thing people like to do is, the physical and digital copies and views of Boruto, they all matter exactly and equally the same. People always like to point out physical copies for Boruto being low when it's not even low in reality. But even if it was, now in 2023, people should know that most people view manga on apps and buy it digitally, and physical copies of manga are only used for people who collect it and are like want to look pretty on a shelf or some shit. If we compare Boruto's physical views, digital copies, and physical copies and combine all of them, we would know Boruto is a highly successful manga. On most, if not all, manga apps, it is either top 3 with over 500,000 views every time a chapter drops. This is monthly, by the way, outputting more viewerships than weekly manga. So it's completely disingenuous to compare this to the physical copies of a weekly manga as well. Comparatively, in terms of physical sales, Boruto is in the middle tier of WSJ's current lineup, around Aono Haku or Blue Box and Sakamoto Days, around that level. That's the way it's selling, and it's also among the best-selling monthly manga, and it's making a good amount of sales without even being advertised as much as every other manga. The monthly manga sales comparison, this is from Uzu Repo on Twitter. He's like a guy who goes through and gets all the sales of monthly and weekly manga. He gets who makes them, the studios, he can get their revenue. He says currently Boruto is probably in the top 30 ongoing monthlies. It does okay and by no means at threat of cancellation. I'm sure it makes a good profit still. Other series survive for years with much fewer sales, not to mention Ikimoto draws practically solo, whereas Boruto's competitors in WSJ rely on teams of assistants. So while drawing solo, not relying on teams of assistants, it is still within the top 30 ongoing monthly mangas, right? And its top 4 monthlies in V-Jump. The V-Jump's best-selling manga series in recent years being Dragon Ball Super, Boruto, Dragon Quest Dai, and Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG. This is based on the estimation of the number of physical copies sold in the first 4 weeks of Japan. i.e. the 24 to 29 days depending on the day of release. So again, having lower sales than other volumes of Boruto, you know how people like to point out Boruto has a decreasing manga sales, it doesn't mean it sells bad. Every series has its ups and downs. Even if it's dropping, it's still selling very well, especially for a monthly manga. Doesn't mean the sales are dropping. That is completely brain dead to say that. Partner this with the views on every manga apps and the digital purchases, Boruto can sustain itself pretty well, especially for a manga with a completely solo artist. Another disingenuous thing people like to do throughout the community is compare it to weekly mangas. Now, why this is disingenuous? Weekly mangas, 4 chapters a month. No, monthly mangas, 1 chapter a month. You're comparing the 4 chapters to 1 chapter. Of course, one is going to sell more. It has more opportunities to sell more. It has more content to sell more, right? So they have a lot more fans. You know, especially, well, I wouldn't say a lot more fans. They have a lot more concurrent fans or fans that actually would buy physical copies of the manga, because as we know, Boruto, through all the viewership, digital sales in relation to the physical copies, is much more of an internet manga. You know, people like to view it on the free apps, or even pirate it or buy it digitally. And in terms of something like JJK or even One Piece, which in Japan sells a whole lot more in physical copies because fans actually go out and buy it, whereas Boruto people just like to read it online, or if they do buy it, it's digital copies only, right? So it's another disingenuous thing to do. Now, my opinions on if they should take a hiatus or if they're gonna take a hiatus, I think it's very, you know, bad to have animators only 9 minutes on a scene or in bad work conditions and not paying them or giving them enough time to put out quality content. Bad for the viewers and bad for the people working. So I think this hiatus would be good, right? It's gonna fix scheduling issues. Studio Perry is gonna have enough time to make every episode look beautiful, not just like the main fights of the show. And it's also gonna get the fans what they deserve, right? Seasonal animes don't have this issue. Boruto gets compared to a lot of seasonal animes like Bleach, JJK, My Hero. They don't have this issue because they're animated within the main studio of whatever respective animated or animating company that is doing it. They spend months on end within the main studio again. They have time to make corrections, and they don't have to put out content weekly, right? Weekly anime are always going to be less quality than monthly or seasonal anime. Look at One Piece. One Piece looks beautiful now, but how many episodes did it take to get there? It took more episodes than double the amount Boruto has right now to get to looking that quality. And every episode doesn't even look that quality because it is, again, weekly, right? Weekly anime always look worse. Dragon Ball Super is either reused animation 90% of the time or just ugly. Boruto looks that way because it is weekly. The fans have been even asking for it to be seasonal for a while now, right? We saw what happened with My Hero Academia. They were first weekly, they were a weekly anime, you know, it was doing pretty good. Then the animation started to fall off a bit, so it became seasonal. Black Clover even took a hiatus, I think a year or two ago or a couple months ago, because it was a weekly anime. Production times weren't adding up, I guess, or probably had a bad schedule like Boruto. So now it took a break. It's coming out with a movie, and it's most likely going to become a seasonal anime as well. Dragon Ball Super, another weekly anime that had a bunch of gripes about its animation while it was airing, is also on break. People are saying it's coming back in the coming years. It's going to have better animation, moral arc, or whatever. But if it becomes seasonal, it'll be, again, a W. People just have to be patient and not take their anger out on the animators who had 9 minutes to animate a fucking scene. That's just not fair to do. Now that we've got all the sales, fake news and all that out of the way, right? Boruto is a pretty good and sustainable manga that can sell and make money for itself without the anime. Anime does make a lot of money, but the Boruto manga could survive without the anime. It's not needed. One of the 30 best-selling monthly mangas currently ongoing. Hopefully, with all of that information I've shared with you now, that can disperse a bunch of the fake things that are going around within the community and stop a lot of the weird behavior that adults are doing on the internet, which is kind of cringy. Now, since we're on the topic of the Boruto anime, I would like to discuss an upcoming episode in specific. One of the reliable anime leakers, he leaked a bunch of stuff for the Code arc, like the production, what scenes were going to be added, what scenes were going to be forgotten, the animation quality we were going to receive as well. He said, be prepared for episode 290, whatever. I'm assuming he's talking about the Boruto versus Kabuki fight or the Boruto versus Code fight. He says Studio Pieria has been working very hard and long to give you a unique and good experience with animation and choreography. So that fight would most likely be on par with some of the Kabuki arc and Momoshiki arc fights. Momoshiki arc fights being Fuse Momo versus Naruto and Sasuke, and the Naruto versus Jigen, Kawaki versus Garo, and Baryon mode Naruto versus Ichiki. So we are going to be receiving a fight on that level during this arc, and while every episode may not look as beautiful as people want, still understand the issues with the scheduling and animation direction that they're taking, and please be mindful not to take out hate on the actual animators. Like on Twitter, I see a lot of lame people just going against the animators saying, why did you make it so ugly? It's not their fault. He had 9 minutes. Like, give him a break. If anything, you should be mad at the studio for not having better scheduling. Right, cool. I also hate anime fandom wars like One Piece and Boruto be having on Twitter. It's kind of weird. Both weekly anime, both have a lot of ugly episodes, both have some banger episodes. Deal with it like we're adults. One last thing I should probably go on or over with this video, since I did kind of cover the manga sales and you know how it does with the anime as well. The Sasuke Retsuden, everything people have been saying, oh, it's better than Boruto. This is what Naruto fans have wanted. I think For Never World said that. They were saying it's gonna completely destroy Boruto in sales. That shit flopped. In the anime, it's one of the most hated arcs, and the novel manga-ization or whatever sold worse than Volume 19 by a lot. Volume 19 within like the first 3 weeks, I think it's about to go on its 4th week, has been consistently within the top 10 or top 20. Sasuke Retsuden started off kind of dragging behind the Volume 19, but still kind of being close. Now it's almost not even in the top 100. Yeah, no one wanted that. It was good as a novel because novels can go in detail and actually make things seem cool. Now the Boruto movie novelization was so good because it went into detail about Momoshiki's abilities and explained the fight very in an interesting way. The Sasuke Retsuden should not have been adapted. It wasn't even written by Kishimoto, so I don't know why y'all expected quality up to par with Naruto, but it wasn't. It's more or less a romance side manga. Now, I have no issue with people wanting romance with like Sasuke and Sakura and more like exposition on their relationship, but it was never better than Boruto. It was never gonna be better than Boruto. It was never gonna sell better than Boruto. The anime arc didn't even do better than anime filler arcs in Boruto. Like, let's be honest, this was another narrative to push the Boruto hate wave. I understand it's popular to hate on Boruto, but doesn't make you cool. It's kind of lame at this point. When can people just accept Boruto is good and move on? Doesn't have to be better than Naruto. It's still great. Move on. Sasuke Retsuden fans, you weren't gonna, claim a dub on this one. That shit was ass. I hated the anime adaptation so much, like more than the manga one, because at least the manga one looked pretty all the time. The only like the last episode and a bit of the proposal or ring scene looked well in the anime. I way prefer novelizations not being adapted unless they're Boruto novels, because every Boruto novel or Boruto novel exclusive have been adapted perfectly within the anime. The Mitsuki arc, the Sumire arc, all been adapted flawlessly. Sasuke Retsuden comes in, a Naruto novel by the way, and it's horrible. Terrible. Should not exist. Anime arc, forget it happened. And also another thing that kind of was weird to me is people knew about the dinosaurs and him getting poisoned and Sakura getting poisoned and was still surprised and said Boruto made it bad. No, that was in the novels, if not worse in the novels, or the same, minimum. So yeah, it kind of was worse in the manga. He had to use like a Keike Genkai Ice Kunai to deal with it. So it's, yeah, don't blame that on Boruto either. With that being said, I would rather the anime go seasonal, better scheduling. I don't wish for animators to be overworked and badly scheduled. That's my final thoughts on the situation. As a closing statement, Boruto sells well. Don't be disingenuous when talking about it, or disingenuous when talking about the sales in comparison to other manga. Boruto anime makes a lot of money, a lot of viewers. Think it should be seasonal. That's it. Like, comment, subscribe, and goodbye.